Hello and welcome to this training video on the moving average convergence divergence indicator, commonly known as MACD. The MACD is a very popular indicator, and it's not a momentum indicator like in which we referred to obviously with the momentum, the RSI and the accumulation distribution. This is an oscillator in that it's basically using a series of moving averages, exponential moving averages, to create two lines, one dotted and one solid, and by having a reference point, which is this 0 point here, which is also called the origin, and if it is above the origin, then it's considered a point of overbought. If it's below, it's considered oversold, much like we had with the RSI. The key difference, as opposed to the RSI, key difference between the MACD and the RSI is that it has these two points plotted along, and basically when we get a crossing of the moving average convergence divergence, and obviously the hint is in the description there, once we have those converge and then diverge, we then have a point of either a sell in this case, because it's reached an overbought position and it's crossed, and usually that's a signal to sell. And this indication is a very strong one here. It reached an oversold position and then crossed, and then that's a signal to buy. Now, of course, much like I explained with all these indicators, you have to reference it in terms of where it is in terms of the chart itself. So you don't use it as a true as your sort of main point of the reason for entering or exiting a trade. It's there just to give you an added insight into what the chart is doing. But the moving average convergence divergence is certainly one of my favorites, in that it's one of the few that actually gives you clear points of possible entry and well, certainly entry for trades, and possible exits as well, because obviously the exit would be at this point here, or towards this point for this one, and then or you could even use the exit here. And I know a lot of students of mine over the years have just simply used the moving average convergence divergence along with finding supports and resistances, and using Fibonacci retracements as well, perhaps, and that combined just with Japanese candlesticks, not even really needing to know all the ins and outs of Japanese candlesticks, is a massively powerful trading system and method alone. Now, I hate to use the term system because it sort of implies a push button approach, but it's more as a sort of those sort of very strong indicator. You don't need no more than two, most certainly, and kind of in many ways the moving average convergence divergence, or MACD, contains two indicators in one anyway. We have the overbought and the oversold, and it also gives us this buy and sell point as well, clearly, and entry and exit. And we got supports and resistances, and we're going to be covering the Fibonacci as well in the next video. You'll see how those work just so wonderfully well, and very powerfully too indeed. So just to cover again, we have the origin, which is basically the point there it's neither overbought nor either sold, and you would usually find that at its reaching these points, if it's moving along that line, we would have consolidation, where it's a very thin amount of trading and it's trading within a very tight range. And then we have these oversold period here, and it crossed the dashed line. That was a signal to buy. We stay in the trade, possibly look to exit. This will be getting very close to a resistance as well, and then we exit just as it's crossing over, and then we we either go short or we stay out until we go back into a long, or we go short on that as well. So the MACD is certainly one of my favourites in terms of the indicator. Very easy to read and usually pretty accurate too. So I would strongly recommend that you look into the MACD more and apply it to your trading.